Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 176 based on novel. So let's start. That's not right. I had clearly worshipped your soul to death. How are you still alive? Shaman God Kuei looked at Shingen, who was sitting up, and asked suspiciously, "Could your name not be Shingen?" "That's not right. Your soul had clearly disintegrated from my worship earlier. Since your soul disintegrated, you can't be alive. What method did you use to make your dispersed soul gather back together once more? Your divine arts sure is." He circled around Shingen while pondering over it. "I felt your soul crumbling just now and another one coming out from your chest to enter your corpse, reviving you. But I have doubts. If your soul died, even if another one was put into your body, you would no longer be you. How did you preserve your consciousness?" Shingen stood up and looked at Shaman God Kuei's primordial spirit with an abnormal gaze while starting to move as well. Shaman God Kuei was circling around him, and he was also circling around Shaman God Kuei. Their circles were one big and one small, as though they were two stars orbiting around each other. Xu Xinghua looked at Qin Mu and recalled how he had been defeated once. Back then, Qin Mu had used his qi to guide him, his aura to suppress him, and the changes in his body motion when moving to exhaust him. That time, Xu Xinghua had suffered a miserable defeat, and before they could even exchange moves once, Xu Xinghua coughed up blood and collapsed to the ground. Afterward, it was that same Qin Mu who treated him and made him owe a large amount of money, so he would have to choice but to forge to earn money. Now, the method that Shaman God Kuei and Shingen were using was similar to Qin Mu's method, but it was even more profound. Shingen stared at Shaman God Kuei full of praises. "Truly wonderful, Shaman God Kuei, you are truly a wonderful piece of art. None of the primordial spirits I collected over these years are as strong as you. Shaman God Kuei, you shall be the best piece in my collection. Collect me." The two of them had already walked into the air from the ground. Shaman God Kuei sneered and said, "Do you think I'm a god statue made from mud? My magic power is incomparably vigorous, and my battle power is unmatched. I'm not a fake god from the fake celestial heavens, but a god from the true celestial heavens. I've wiped out the old dynasty of the fake celestial heavens and countless powerful beings. Wherever I passed by, corpses filled the ground, and the sea of blood has no end. You are merely a little thing that cultivated a strange technique, and is going around acting ostentatiously and swindling people, just like a trickster walking the martial world. But I know your tricks." What had flown out from the chest earlier was only 7 spirits, but no 3 souls. Your souls are still yours, but you have snatched other people's 7 spirits. Qin Mu's expression changed slightly. Shingen's source is his 3 souls. He had cultivated his 3 souls to God. In that case, his 3 souls might not be hidden in the chest. Shingen's expression changed slightly as well, and he praised, "Truly wonderful, Shaman God Kuei. You are making me admire you more and more. When you worshipped me to death just now, the marvel of your ability was also seen through by me. The so-called soul worship shaman spell doesn't disintegrate the soul of the opponent, but separates the 7 spirits. The people who are worshipped to death still have their souls, just that they are controlled by you through force. Otherwise, why would there be so many damned souls lingering around your body? Your shaman spell is merely a kind of abnormally strong soul divine art." Little Rulai's body trembled, and he said in a low voice, "I see." Numerous demon monks guarded him while suppressing his souls and spirits, which could disintegrate at any time. When they heard what Shingen said, they were instantly enlightened as though they had seen the light. The paths, skills, and divine arts of Buddhism were different from normal ones. Buddha eyes could allow them to see the damned souls, and they had long seen countless souls plaguing Shaman God Kuei. Because of that, They felt that enlightening shaman god Kuei would be a huge merit, which could be used to open the 20 heavens of Buddha realm, so they would turn into Buddhas. Just by knowing the name, shaman god Kuei could worship the opponent and scatter their spirits. His shaman spell was incomparably powerful, but they hadn't managed to connect the souls lingering around him to his soul worship shaman spell. Qin Mu's mind throbbed. Xing'an was indeed remarkable. Shaman god Kuei had worshipped him twice. The first time, it was Pangong Tso who had executed soul worship shaman spell, and didn't manage to worship him to death. The second time was the worship just now, which killed Xing'an straight away. After seeing shaman god Kuei's divine art just twice, he managed to see through its marvel. This kind of aptitude and comprehension was simply remarkable. His aptitude and comprehension are no inferior to those of Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor. A pity this person uses all his effort in searching for strong practitioners close to God level, gathering the corporeal body pieces of others. If he spent all his effort on cultivating En, he would have died from old age. After all, the divine bridge is broken. Wait a minute. Qin Mu trembled, and a look of disbelief flashed through his eyes. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was an existence that had the strongest comprehension and aptitude he had seen. His boldness was unmatched, so he was famous throughout the world even before the reform. He was acclaimed as the saint that appears once every 500 years by old Rulai and old Tao Master. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was currently in his prime, so there had to be someone with that title before him. It couldn't be. Qin Mu's expression was weird. Xing'an's aptitude was so high that only Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor could be on par with him. Didn't that mean that the saint that appears once every 500 years during Village Chief's era was Xing'an? That's very possible. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor also has the addiction of collecting other people's body parts. Qin Mu formed fists. Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor had collected Cripple's leg before. In mid-air, shaman god Kuei suddenly began fighting with Xing'an, and the sky above Mount Meru was torn apart by divine arts. Even though shaman god Kuei couldn't worship him to death, he was the primordial spirit of a god. He had incomparably powerful cultivation and divine arts. They were mainly soul divine arts, with some other spell type. The power of his spell divine arts was incomparably powerful to even tear apart the darkness, revealing the strange faces within it. For spell divine arts to reach such a level even without a corporeal body, his battle power far surpassed that of little Rulai. Yet none of his divine arts could touch Xing'an. That man's speed was simply too fast. He was like flickering light and passing shadows, his speed equal to that of Cripple. Facing such speed, even shaman god Kuei's divine arts couldn't catch up. Cripple's speed was number one in the world. If he tried to escape with all he had, no one could catch up to him. He had only failed twice in his life. The first time was when he was discovered by Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, when stealing Emperor's disc. His leg had been cut off even before he could erupt with his speed. The second time was when he met Xing'an. Even though Cripple's speed was unbelievably fast, his cultivation wasn't as dense as that of Xing'an. He was chased for days until he finally exhausted his cultivation, and his both legs were cut off. With such a speed, it was literally impossible for shaman god Kuei to hit him. Boom! In mid-air, shaman god Kuei received Xing'an's first strike, and his body trembled. His spirit embryo was almost smacked out of his primordial spirit, and he couldn't help revealing a flustered expression. A huge bang followed after as he suffered the second strike. Trails of true fire spewed out from his eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. The degree of separation between his spirit embryo and his soul became even larger. Bang, bang, bang. Concentrated strikes rang out in mid-air, and the spirit embryo in shaman god Kuei's primordial spirit swayed in all directions, Illusions were formed, and the faces were distorted and flustered. Shaman god Kuei actually had no power to retaliate. Imperial Preceptor, that sicko, might not even be a match for the current Qin. Qin Mu was astonished as he looked at Xing'an's chest that was not far away. Qin had placed it on the ground, no longer carrying it with himself. Beside the chest, Pan Gongtso lay with his head shrunk back in while clutching the leg to his chest. His agona. My master is going to be finished. He isn't the match for Qin, this sicko. I planned to fish up some benefits, but from the looks of it, I won't be able to gain anything at all. He took out his Daotai sack and stuffed the leg inside. Qin is so smart and cunning, he will definitely force me to attach this leg. If it was poisoned by Cult Master Qin, I'll definitely die. But even if the leg isn't poisoned, Qin will definitely cut it off and not leave it for me. In that case, why don't I take the chance to slip away? However, darkness is outside so I can't leave. While thinking that, he suddenly saw Qin Mu holding a bead the size of a fist. He seemed to be chanting and executing some kind of spell. However, Qin was busy beating Shaman god Kuei, so he couldn't hear what the brat was saying. Black tortoise bead. Pan Gongtso stared with his eyes wide open. He recognized the bead in Qin Mu's hand. It was black tortoise bead, one of the 4 great spirit treasures of True Heaven Palace. However, even in his previous lifetimes when he was Grandmaster, he had only seen the bead and never had the chance to personally touch it. This scoundrel is truly a lucky bastard. He actually managed to steal black tortoise bead from True Heaven Palace during the chaos. The gesture of Qin Mu's left hand changed unpredictably. Mirages flashed across the sky above, and finally transformed into a sword technique, which gently tapped on black tortoise bead. A move of 10,000 spirit nature technique. Pan Gongtso's heart jumped slightly. Suddenly, the chest beside him shook, and he felt his hair stand on ends. The bottom of the chest shifted twice, and suddenly a leg popped out from beneath it. Pan Gongtso almost cried out, when a few more legs grew from the bottom of the chest, and it shook itself. The chest then actually stood up. Before Pan Gongtso could return to his senses, Qin Mu jumped onto the chest, which began running down the mountain. Midway there, the dragon Qilin shrunk himself as much as he could. When the chest went past him, he leaped up onto it and sat down. Pan Gongtso was stunned. When he looked at Xu Xinghua, he saw him holding Jing Yang's hand while waving to Qin Mu, who was on the chest. It was obvious that he also knew. Cunning. This guy even dared to steal Xing'an's chest. Pan Gongtso was going to call Qin, but he suddenly changed his mind and quickly ran down the mountain on his hands. The speed of that chest was extremely fast, but just as it was about to rush into the darkness, Pan Gongtso leaped and grabbed onto its bottom edge. He was brought into the darkness by the sprinting chest as well. The chest was filled with divine body parts, so the surrounding darkness was forced back, and the 4 legs ran quickly through the darkness. So it's Grandmaster. Qin Mu turned back to look and saw Pan Gongtso dangling under the chest. He grinned and pulled out his sword. Pan Gongtso took out the poisoned leg to defend, and the 2 clanked from the strike. Cult Master Qin, hold it. Pan Gongtso immediately shouted out. If you attack again, I'm going to scream. I'll see how you escape. Qin Mu put away his sword, full of smiles. What is Grandmaster talking about? We are old friends now, so how could I harm you? Grandmaster, you're about to eat dirt under the chest, so why don't I pull you up? He secretly gave Dragon Qilin a kick, and he understood what he meant. The Dragon Qilin then opened his mouth to gather true fire, preparing to blow Pan Gongtso into the darkness, after Qin Mu pulled him up. The darkness would then get rid of him for them. Pan Gongtso shrunk back and made himself comfortable under the chest. I appreciate Cult Master's concern. I like eating dirt, so I'm fine staying here. You don't have to pay attention to me. At that moment, Xing'an's furious voice rang out in the sky above Little Mount Meru. Great Divine Physician Qin, I want to see if your heart is truly black. Definitely black, Pan Gongtso's grumbled softly under the chest. Xing'an's voice came from the top of Mount Meru in one instant, but from much lower in the next. He was going to chase after them. He didn't care about all the other stuff like killing his enemies or not, but his own chest was a different matter. The anger in his voice couldn't be suppressed as he laughed. How dare you? Beneath the chest, Pan Gongtso muttered under his breath, the brat's guts are the biggest. You actually dare to collude with the Qin to steal my chest. Grandmaster, how dare you? Xing'an's voice sometimes came from the left and sometimes right. It was obvious that he couldn't find Qin Mu and the chest's location under the invasion of the dark, so he had to run here and there. Even so, with his speed, searching a radius of 1,000 miles was no problem for him. Finding Qin Mu and the big chest was only a matter of time. Do you think I won't kill you? You are too childish. When Xing'an started to speak, his voice came from 100 miles west, but when he finished his sentence, his voice was coming from 100 miles south. Pan Gongtso's face turned green and he ground his teeth. How is it my fault? I didn't work with him to steal your chest. I just took the chance to run away. On the chest, Qin Mu was astonished. Xing'an managed to get rid of Shaman God Kuei so quickly. Such abilities are truly terrifying. Below the chest, Pan Gongtso grunted and muttered to himself, my master really has lived these years for naught. However, Xing'an won't be able to refine his primordial spirit that easily to add to his collection. Cult Master Qin, I have a great idea. It can get rid of my master and Xing'an at the same time. Qin Mu spoke from atop the chest. I know what you mean. You plan to go to Yang Mountain in the south of Great Ruins to unseal Shaman God Kuei's corporeal body. Xing'an is yet to refine the primordial spirit, and I reckon he separated his spirit embryo and soul to suppress them separately. Shaman God Kuei is a god after all, so when he regains his corporeal body, he just might be able to break free from Xing'an's suppression. The complete Shaman God Kuei will not be weaker than Xing'an, but stronger. Is what I said right? Pan Gongtso nodded repeatedly before realizing that Qin Mu couldn't see him. Cult Master Qin is truly my greatest enemy, he praised. Cult Master, with an enemy like you, I will have nightmares when I sleep. Cult Master, I think is scolding you, the dragon Qilin said. That's a generous praise. However, if Xing'an might not be able to fight against a complete Shaman God Kuei, the danger to everyone else would be immense, and that will be extremely terrifying. But if... He couldn't help worrying. If Xing'an added Shaman God Kuei's primordial spirit to his collection, that would be a great danger as well. If Xing'an could refine the primordial spirit of Shaman God Kuei, wouldn't he be able to kill whoever he wanted? Of course, Xing'an had his own principles. He wouldn't lay his hands on people that didn't catch his eyes, like people who didn't have an area in which they reached the realm of God. With his hobby, all of the strong practitioners that reached God realm would probably be worshipped to death by him so he could peacefully cut off their divine limbs. This would definitely be a catastrophe, and the impact on the paths, skills, and divine arts would be beyond measure. If these two guys could die together, that would be good. Qin Mu sighed and approved Pan Gongtso's idea. He urged the chest to hurry to the south. You guys can't escape. Xing'an's voice was sometimes far and sometimes close. The darkness of Great Ruins at night was so dark that even with his remarkable abilities, he couldn't find any traces left behind by the group. Not much later, Qin Mu saw the shadow of a heavenly moat in front of the chest. A crashing of water came from the darkness, and from the noise, he guessed that there was more than one waterfall. They were before an extremely dangerous cliff. This is that broken cliff at the source of surging river. Qin Mu had the chest come to the edge of the cliff, so they could look down. From there, he saw bright light coming from the wall of the cliff. He didn't know what was glowing. His heart stirred slightly. The last time he had come there, he had brought Xiongxiu and her daughter. At that time, he had seen the heavenly moat splitting the west and east of great ruins into two halves. The height of the cliff had reached thousands of yards. It was a cliff formed by a terrifying earthquake, which tore the whole of great ruins apart, forming a huge fracture that stretched from the north to the south. The source of surging river were the waterfalls of the broken cliff. The waterfalls gathered together to form the majestic river that flowed for tens of thousands of miles, reaching even eternal peace where it was the river with the fastest current. On top of that, Qin Mu had also encountered a strange incident. When he and Xiongxiu encountered fog on the river, they saw a desert and numerous gods forging the palaces of deities. They were the gods of High Emperor era, who had received an order from High Emperor to transform the desert into plains. After that, they saw the gods of High Emperor era cutting a canal for surging river. However, what was most weird was that when they saw High Emperor era being buried, the gods of another era walked over from the fog. They were founding emperor and his ministers encountering the bizarre fog when they were surveying the area, sighing at the demise of an era. Their experience had become strangeness that Qin Mu encountered. The echoes of two histories overlapped at the source of surging river and formed an inconceivable sight. At that time, Qin Mu had deduced that there might be entrances to other worlds in that area and even saw the time and space of 5 worlds overlapping. I wonder what strange things happen after night descends on surging river. He was uneasy yet full of anticipation. He had Xing'an's chest walk down the cliff, and Pan Gongso, who was under the chest, hurriedly grabbed on one of the chest's legs so that he wouldn't fall off. In the meantime, on the golden peak of Little Thunderclap Monastery's Little Mount Meru, Little Rulai was sitting in a lotus position, while all the monks surrounded him with sorrow on their faces. The devil ape knelt with his eyes wide open. Suddenly, tears started rolling down his cheeks and crashed onto the ground. I rebelled and came out of Great Thunderclap Monastery, because my master was unfair, choosing my senior brother to succeed as Rulai and not me. Since all lives are equal, why only humans can be Rulai and not demons? Since Dharma is equal, why can Rulai only be men and not women? Rays of light shone on little Rulai's face as he smiled. My cultivation was no inferior to that of my senior brother, and I didn't really fancy the Dharma of the human race, so I was indignant. I wanted to build a sacred ground for the demon race. I fought my way out of Great Thunderclap Monastery to build Little Thunderclap Monastery. Great Thunderclap, Little Thunderclap, they are both thunderclaps. Even though they elaborated on Dharma differently, they are both Dharma. Shaman god Kuei worshipped my soul to death, and I don't have Xing'an's abilities, so now my soul is about to scatter. John Kong, fetch Kakra over. The devil ape knelt down with the Kakra staff held up with both hands. My senior brother imparted Rulai's Mahayana Sutra to you because of Kakra, and because of him, I've taken you in as my disciple. Great Thunderclap Monastery, Little Thunderclap Monastery, because of you, they are going to be related once again. Little Rulai raised his hand, and the Kakra staff floated into the air. You are the junior brother of Great Thunderclap Monastery's Rulai Ma. After I die, bring all the monks on the mountain to Great Thunderclap Monastery. Rulai Ma will take all of you in. He took out a kasaya and a scripture. After placing the scripture on top of the kasaya, he gave them to the devil ape. The Kakra staff then landed down and pressed on the scripture. Tell Rulai Ma this, Dharma says all lives are equal, so why are demon sculptures in the temples always the mounts of Buddha and Bodhisattvas? Isn't our demon race equal? Little Rulai's souls and spirits started to break apart and drift away. Then ask him, if the demon race is equal, why is Dharma only written by humans? Can't demons write Dharma too? After that, ask him again, saving humans is an achievement and virtue, so shouldn't saving demons be an achievement and virtue too? Ask him, if eating humans is taking the life of a living creature, is eating demon taking the life of a living creature too? Plants, trees, they can all become demons, so is eating them taking the life of a living creature as well? If he can't answer those questions, hand him this scripture written by me, this demon Rulai. He will then take all of you in. Little Rulai put his palms together and said with a smile on his face, after I pass away, bring this mortal flesh of mine to Great Thunderclap Monastery. Ask Rulai Ma if I can enter 10,000 Buddha's pagoda as well. When he finished saying that, his soul scattered. Demon, Master. The devil ate prostrated on the ground, and the monks all started reciting the Great Compassion Mantra in unison. Little Rulai founded Little Thunderclap Monastery, with his own strength, and made it into the only sacred ground in Great Ruins. It's also the only sacred ground of the demon race, Shu Xinghua said in a low voice. There was no demon race in the Dharma, yet he let the demon race have their own Dharma. How is his frame of mind not that of Rulai? Yangzi, I would like to go take a look at the Buddha of the humans and the Buddha of the demons. I'll follow you to Great Thunderclap Monastery. Since Big Fella will be bringing all these demon monks through Great Ruins, their journey will probably be full of danger. We can also look after them, Jing Yang said. There are numerous experts in Little Thunderclap Monastery, so it won't be too dangerous for them to cross Great Ruins. The one in danger is probably Cult Master Qin. He stole Xing'an's chest and even brought Grandmaster with him. This Cult Master Qin. Veins started popping out on his forehead while Jing Yang only smiled. You are very envious of him. Envious that he's living an interesting life. Shu Xinghua nodded. However, I'm not like him. Even though I envy him, I don't wish to go through his kind of life. I hope he can make it through this. A huge chest was giving off a faint glow, while many little things were glowing on the side of the cliff too. Darkness shrouded everything, but at that place, there was actually still light, and this made Qin Mu click his tongue in wonder. The chest stopped on its way down the cliff when it came to a spot with light. Qin Mu examined it in detail, and he couldn't help revealing the astonishment that appeared on his face. The ball of light wasn't given by any creatures or treasure. What was shining from the crack in the cliff was actually sunlight. Qin Mu leaned against the crack and tried to look inside. He saw green plains, a clear sky, and a blazing sun hanging in the sky. Pangong Tso also took a look at another crack. He was also incredibly astonished. When the dragon Chalin saw the situation, he also tried to take a look as well. He then said in bewilderment, "There's another world hidden in the broken cliff. It's not a world that's hidden, but this crack in the broken cliff that's connected to another world." Qin Mu tried different poses, but he couldn't see more. I knew this place was bizarre since there are 5 worlds overlapping. Sure. Suddenly, 2 incomparably thick beams of lights swept down from the top of the cliff, humming as they swept past them. They didn't notice them who were on the wall of the cliff. Xing'an's eyes. Qin Mu let out a sigh of relief when the 2 beams of light suddenly separated roughly 100 miles away. The beams of light shone onto the cliff as they slowly searched bit by bit. Qin Mu was stunned. Xing'an dug his eyes out and now they are flying in the sky in search of our location. His scalp started crawling, and he shivered when he thought about such a thing. Cult Master Qin, there's a big crack over here. Pan Gong Tso said. Qin Mu hurriedly moved the chest to where he had pointed, and they all went inside the large crack. The crack was 3 yards wide, and the chest carried Qin Mu and the rest inside it. 2 steps in, they got stuck, and Qin Mu hurriedly pushed the dragon Qin's tummy inward. However, the chest still couldn't move. Pan Gongtso, who was under the chest, was also groaning from the squeeze. Quiet! Qin Mu shouted out in a low voice and made the chest go back a bit. One of Xing'an's divine arts came close at that moment, pillar-like divine light sweeping past the crack. Qin Mu immediately had the big chest hide behind a huge rock that was jutting out. The speed of divine eyes was extremely fast, and their light flashed by in no time. Luckily Xing'an's eyes aren't Grandpa Blind's eyes, otherwise, this huge rock couldn't have hidden us. He let out a sigh of relief and opened up the chest. He grabbed the dragon Qin by his neck and stuffed this fatty inside. Cult Master, the dragon Qin shivered in the chest. There are all sorts of body parts in here, even heads. There are also hearts. And so many hands and fingers. Qin Mu closed the chest and sent it back into the crack. Without the fatty dragon Qin, it went much smoother. The chest continued to head deeper, while the light in front of them grew stronger and stronger. Qin Mu leaned against the chest to look forward. At the end of the crack, he actually didn't see green plains or blue sky. Instead, it was a golden yellow desert. It was a completely different sight from before. Could the world in this crack be different from the world in that crack earlier? Just as he thought that, divine light suddenly shone behind them, shocking Qin Mu. There was no place to hide this time, so he could only rush the chest to crawl forward. Luckily, they were not far from the world in the crack, and the chest quickly crawled through, tumbling down into the golden desert. After 2 tumbles, the chest stood up once again. Qin Mu looked back and saw the beam of divine light shoot through the crack, before disappearing. He didn't know if it had seen them or not. His heart shook, and he jumped down to look at the bottom of the chest in a hurry. Pan Gongtso's figure had vanished. That guy truly slips away fast. Qin Mu burst out laughing. Pan Gongtso had to have taken the chance to escape when they fell into the golden yellow desert. It was to save himself from being assassinated by Qin Mu in cold blood. They had been in the darkness of great ruins, just then with Xing'an chasing after them, so they'd had to work together. But once there was no darkness in the surroundings, Pan Gongtso naturally made his escape. He had no legs and was no match for Qin Mu. If he had escaped just a little slower, he might not have had the chance to run away. Grandmaster is truly crafty, Qin Mu praised. He opened the chest, and the dragon Qin hurriedly jumped out with a horrified expression. He wasn't willing to get close to the chest anymore. Qin Mu looked into the chest, and it was still the same as before. Taotia's bones formed its structure, and its skin was wrapped around it. Inside, there were many cabinets like before, but the number of body parts was much lower. He also saw the place where the chest had been sliced apart and sewn back together. It was Butcher's 2 knives which had done the damage. After Xing'an had escaped from Butcher's knives, he should have mended the chest. If I could summon the spirit in these divine hands, legs, spirits, and heads and awaken these body parts, Xing'an would not be impossible to deal with. Qin Mu's gaze flickered, and he closed the chest before starting to sprint through the golden yellow desert. The chest ran after him as if it was flying, following steadily behind him. The dragon Qin also ran quickly while sneaking glances at the chest from time to time with fear in his eyes. After a moment, the dragon Qin managed to overcome his fear and jumped onto the chest to squat so the chest would be doing the running. Fatty Dragon has already reached a new realm of laziness. Qin Mu thought as he turned back to look at the fatty. The desert in the distance connected to the sky, so Qin Mu with the chest kept on running ahead. Suddenly though, he stopped in front of a huge skeleton lying on a sand dune. Half of it was buried under the sand. Qin Mu walked forward and instantly felt a god's aura. He hurriedly stopped, and the chest behind him also stopped. The dragon Qin had fallen asleep, but was instantly jolted awake. He raised his head to look around and cried out, "Qin has caught up." No. Qin Mu examined the god's skeleton that was buried under the yellow sand. The ribs were extremely large, bulging upwards. Under them was a thoracic cavity, in which dozens of people could probably stand. He carefully went forward, and the chest tiptoed after him. Qin Mu stretched out his palm, but felt that something wasn't right. He took out Pangong Tso's huge cauldron and slowly went closer to the god's skeleton. Suddenly, he heard a clunk, and he gave a grunt. The webbing between his thumb and forefinger exploded, and his palm became all blooded. One leg of the huge cauldron that had once belonged to Pangong Tso was also sliced off. The huge cauldron had been refined by Pangong Tso in his previous life, when he was a strong practitioner close to God level. His huge cauldron was definitely on the level of a cult legacy treasure. Qin Mu couldn't damage it even when he used his sword pellet. This was enough proof to show just how strong was the cauldron. Yet in front of the god's skeleton, it was like clay. Its leg had been sliced off just like that. Qin Mu endured the pain and sealed the wound. He picked up the cauldron's foot from the ground, and saw that the broken surface was as flat as though an invisible sharp knife had sliced through it. When touching the broken surface, he could feel a scorching heat. This video will end here.